This is Acme's On Point Podcast. On today's episode, we dive into why we need to start getting comfortable being uncomfortable. More specifically, why it's so important for us, credit unions, to adopt AI and really how we can start using it. But before we get to our episode, just a quick word from our sponsor.
Exactus is a leading fintech committed to the continued transformation of the mortgage verification industry, pioneering a new class of technology, intelligent verification. Exactus is redefining how the industry originates and services mortgages. With Exactus 360, our industry-first intelligent verification platform SM, we put the full power of the market's leading verification partner into a user-centric technology that harnesses real-time insights to power automated actions, enabling clients to make faster, better decisions with the right data at the right time. Exactus is an Acuma services provider for credit reporting, verifications, and flood determinations. Exactus also provides Acuma members unique pricing benefits for flood services, valuation technology and appraisal orders, loan-level quality control solutions, and Exactus data solutions. By combining data at scale, advanced AI technology, and our deep domain expertise, Exactus is committed to partnering with mortgage lenders and servicers to lead the industry into the future as, together, we advance the modern verification. Our team of experts at Exactus is here for you, the members of Acuma, to consult on your verification workflow and being provider agnostic, here to offer custom solutions to accommodate your strategic goals.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Acuma, its board of directors, its management staff, or its members. The podcast discussion presented is conversational in nature and for general information only.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome to Acme's On Point Podcast, a series focused on sharing the stories of people who are making a positive impact in the credit union mortgage industry. I'm your host, Peter Benjamin. Today, I am joined by a good friend and someone I highly respect, Eric Burgess, Director of Home Loans with First Commerce Credit Union. Eric, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. How are you?
Hey, man, just living that dream, living that dream. You know, Eric, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about AI. You agreed to have this discussion with us on why it's so important for credit unions to start getting comfortable with the idea of AI. Because really, in my opinion, you are someone who has truly embraced that notion of AI. I mean, heck, I think you've even started a Facebook page completely dedicated to AI utilization. But obviously, we'll discuss that a bit more in just a second. So looking forward to the conversation. But as always, I need to take a sidestep, bring Justin the Hawk into the conversation. Justin, my friend, how are you doing today? And please tell us what is the latest and greatest happening over at Acuma.
I'm good, Peter. How are you?
Hey, man, like I said, living the dream.
Living the dream. I love it. Well, right now, we are, 6.5 weeks out from annual?
Something like that. Yeah, something
Six and a half weeks out from our Make Your Mark annual conference. So a couple things. If you don't know, we're going to be in Las Vegas this year, September 20th to the 23rd. So if you don't know that, then I haven't done a good job. Or we haven't talked about it enough. I don't know. One of those two.
I feel like we've talked about it enough, and if they don't know, they're just not paying attention.
They're not paying attention. That might be what it is. Registration's open. So if you haven't registered for what is going to be the biggest credit union mortgage event of the year, then you need to go do that. You definitely don't want to miss this event. The agenda, the speakers, the lineup, the fun stuff that you don't know about that's not on the website. You don't want to miss these things. Secondly, if you have registered, make sure that you go book your hotel room. So you get a discounted room block with that. So make sure you book it before hotel deadline happens. Yeah, aside from all that, we have our webinars going on a regular basis, so a couple times a month, and then our On Point podcast, we're back on our regular schedule, so new episodes dropping about every 2 weeks. For all that information, plus so much more, head over to the Acuma website.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course.
All right, Eric. I know we're going to talk about AI, and you are someone who I've been watching, and I mean, you really have gone down that path of adopting it, learning what you can about it, try and find ways to leverage it for your credit union. But, really before we get to that conversation, I have to always start our conversation with the same first and last question that I ask everybody. And again, Acuma's On Point podcast is a people piece. It's focused on the people who make a positive impact in the credit union mortgage industry. It really started with that idea of what makes us us, right? And how do we keep driving forward? First question out of the gate is more, it goes back to that root. It goes back to that fundamentals of who we are. I'm sure you can figure it out. That first question is relatively simple. Who is Eric, and what makes Eric Eric?
That's an interesting question. I've been trying to think what I would answer with this, but I get excited by innovation. I get excited by growth. So I've spent the last over a decade of my career really focusing on helping organizations grow on the lending side. Done it at a credit union before, and then at banks, and then some independents. And for me, it's I get excited growing organizations and utilizing lending as one of the growth catalysts for the organizational growth, whether it's using mortgage to deepen relationships and cross-sell, et cetera. And when you can find ways to do that creatively, especially now with the access to technology is getting simpler and simpler to really try and connect all the dots and uncomplicate your tech stack. That gets me really, really excited.
And I appreciate you walking us through that. And I think you're a great example of someone who most credit unions could take a page out of your book, right? You started off as one thing. You started off as a good old-fashioned mortgage lender. You saw great success throughout your career, but then you're like, hey, I have to innovate. I have to become better myself. You started really adopting AI and new technologies, and it's only aided in your success. And I think that's why hopefully our listeners, people that are listening to this conversation, take something away. Like, you are someone who's fully embraced new technologies, AI. You've leveraged it for that success. And I think one of the things that most credit unions fear is just even the idea of AI, but also just overcomplicating it with things that they don't need. For background, like you said, you're a mortgage lender. You love AI, and you explore it a lot. You're also one of the founders of the Facebook page, AI Learning Lab. You really talk about where the group talks about techniques for using AI and new AI that's out there. Just do me a favor, before we go much further, walk us through the journey to kind of start that Facebook page, that group.
I started using AI back in late 23 and really started playing with it. And then I really took a deep dive in 25. I took a step away from the mortgage and the banking side of the business. And I really spent 18, 24 months really diving deep into artificial intelligence. I wanted to understand everything I could about it, everything from what makes it work on the LLM side of things, all the way up to the agentic, the integrations, and everything else you can do, the vibe coding, all the buzzwords that are related to it. I have multiple certifications, engineering, generalist, the whole gamut. I decided to actually also join an MBA program. So I'm in a master's program for artificial intelligence as well, which has been interesting because that's more of a business use case as opposed to like a engineering use case, if you will. But I was invited to join that Facebook page by somebody in the industry who was struggling kind of getting it off the ground as the AI expert. And it's kind of evolved into what has become today. In fairness, my focus hasn't been completely on building that page lately as much as it should have been, because my role at First Commerce has taken a little bit of a priority over where that was. But I definitely found joy in trying to help people understand artificial intelligence and how to use it in their day to day. I mean, and there's use cases galore with it, whether it's organizing your schedule at home to developing quality control agents in a lending platform, or processing agents, or even underwriting agents that assist with calculations on income. So the use cases with it are relatively endless. And my passion was, how do we do it? How do we do it well? How do we do it better than anyone else? And how do we make sure that we keep it on point with accuracy, as opposed to the horror stories you hear out there with the hallucinations and everything else? And so there's a lot of controls that you can put in place to really harness and yield the optimal results that people are typically looking for in the artificial intelligence space, which is productivity, right? artificial intelligence is a massive productivity boost. If you asked me a year ago what my thoughts were with AI, it was a lot of people were talking about job replacements. And my thought on that has changed or has evolved a little bit. But I enjoy helping people understand artificial intelligence. And that's kind of the crux behind where that group came from. As I was doing a lot of my own teaching on my own personal page on there, I was invited to help.
I love that. You invited me to be part of the page, and I know I haven't contributed to that page. I most certainly read all the posts, and I see the conversations that are happening, and it's fascinating how quickly people all around the world are on this page, but also leveraging AI. I say that because, it seems like the people who are adopting AI are growing. It is growing, excuse me. But the thing is that when you look at our industry, and I think this is where it has to tie back to work a bit, and I've said this before, you have all the various different industries. You have automotive, healthcare, banking, et cetera, right? If you look at healthcare as an easy example, they are light years when it comes to AI ahead of us, right? And then when you look at banking, banking compared to healthcare, we're 4 or 5 years behind them. But then when you look at the credit union space and you look at the rest of the banking world, we're 5 years behind the rest of the banking world. So all in all, we're about 10 years behind AI when it comes to our utilization, our understanding, and overcoming that fear, right? That's why I love so much about that Facebook page is that you can see people are actually out there using it and seeing success. And so I guess, one of the first questions I have is, let's focus on something that goes back to why you started, that Facebook page of how can people overcome that fear and that perception of AI and really start using it to its full benefits? Like, what is that first step to overcome that fear?
I just like everything has a process, right? So when you turn on your computer in the morning, you have essentially a workflow on how you turn on your computer. You press the button, it boots up, you log in, you open your apps, whatever. Artificial intelligence is no different. It has a workflow. And it all starts with essentially the prompt and the prompt engineering. And you utilize something called the CRIT framework. In fact, I have a book on my desk called The AI Savvy Leader, which I read last year. And he talks a lot about how you become a leader in the AI space and how you utilize it. And it really starts at the basic is understanding the prompting behind it and how that works to generate the results that you want. And once you're able to start prompt engineering properly, you can direct AI to help you in any aspect of your life, whether you want it to help you. I'll give you a great example. Everyone is struggling with costs right now, right? Inflation, grocery. I don't know about you, but my grocery bill is ridiculous.
I have 3 kids. I mean, how expensive fruit snacks and chicken tenders are?
I have a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I have a 13-year-old boy and an 11-year-old boy, and they eat me out of house and home. And so I was frustrated one day because I was tired of going to Publix and spending $300-$400 on groceries. So I put my grocery list together. I uploaded it. I have an AI agent I use at home. I named him Enzo. I prompted it using the CRIT framework on what it is, what the goal is, what the outcome should be, and to do a full analytical deep dive on the grocery bill. And basically the result that I wanted was, what's the best place to go shopping to save me the most amount of money? And the result came up and it said, if you go to Publix, it's this. If you go to here, it's this. Here, it's this. Here, it's this. I've seen Aldi. I've never gone to Aldi before. So I decided to take a chance. I went to Aldi. At Publix, this bill would have been $450. At Aldi, it said it was going to be between $220 and $250. And I paid $242 for that grocery shopping bill. Saved me over $200 simply by asking it, where can I go shopping to get everything I need on this list and save the most amount of money? That's a silly example, but it's a use case in how you can utilize something in your personal life that you may not realize. You can analyze a list for groceries. You can figure out who has best sales. You can organize your scheduling with your kids and their schooling or summer camps or everything else. It's really just about adopting it and starting to utilize it, but you have to understand the basic. And I would encourage everyone who doesn't use AI today or is hesitant to start understanding the framework when it comes to prompt engineering. And if you're a leader, you should definitely read the book, AI Driven Leader. I'm not the author. I don't get paid a commission for promoting it.
Listen, if this is a stupid question, I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. I want to know the answer. You talked about your AI agent, whatever you called it. How did you create that? Like, did you just go to the chat or Claude or Perplexity or Copilot and be like, I'm going to start calling you Jeeves,
So like everybody, I started using AI on ChatGPT, right? Back in late 23 sometime. And then from there, as I was going through all my trainings and every certification, everything I really spent time on, I basically locally host. There's a lot of open software out there, if you will. So I went and I basically took an existing LLM and I hosted it on my server at home. And then I started training it and prompting it. It is like an open AI platform, but I host it at home. So all the information I put in there is secure. That's part of the piece of AI that I think is a lot of business leaders, and we can talk about this later, but I think a lot of business leaders need to ask themselves whether they are using AI or not, their employees are, and what information are the employees giving to public LLMs that should be hosted internally, right? If you have ChatGPT at your workplace, what are your employees using it for that they should be using a locally hosted LLM or maybe a nicely built Copilot that you have on your network as opposed to going to some URL somewhere. But I built this agent on my own system and hosted it home. And so now it's got years of data on me. So now it calls me by my first name. It knows my wife and kids, knows what we like to eat apparently from the grocery store, the whole gamut. It's quite interesting to utilize.
Now I want to go have one of these. It's almost like, because I have an iPhone, so I have Siri on my paperweight. And we also have Google Home pretty much throughout the house. So we pretty much just ask Google for whatever we want. I want that agent that helps us do exactly what you're talking about. Organizes our calendars, helps us with the grocery list. All that stuff is fun, right? And I think that is a personal use case. That is an excellent example.
You can build that on ChatGPT or OpenAI platform if you don't. Locally hosting's a little advanced, but as long as you're not putting personal, confidential, you can put whatever you can upload your personal tax returns on there. That's completely up to you. But I can give you the prompting that we built out for ours, and you could basically update the settings in ChatGPT as an example to mirror the personality and prompt it the way you want to work with it.
That's awesome. Let's kind of switch back to credit unions and AI. And I think that is absolutely it's fascinating, right? And so we talked about, obviously, the overcoming of that hesitation, right? If you were going to say this is the first place and the best place for a credit union to start leveraging AI, where would that be? Let's do crawl, walk, run type of mindset. This is where you crawl. Leverage this for crawling with AI. This is how you walk with AI. And if you really want to be advanced, this is how you run with it. What would those three things be in the credit union space? It can be related to mortgage, you name it, or use case for mortgage. But in your opinion, being so advanced compared to everyone else, every other credit union out there, where would you go?
So the first thing that I think the easiest place to start, the obvious is letting it proofread whatever you're writing or whatever you've written and offer suggestions from an editing standpoint. That's pretty basic. A lot of people are doing that now. And if you don't prompt it right, you get all those M dashes and you get the emojis and you get the loop backs, and it's not this. They'll say some fact and then they'll say it's not because of this and it's not because of this, it's because of this. You can obviously tell it's written by AI. So you have to really learn how to prompt it so it doesn't do that. But if you want to start somewhere, one place we started here was we started comparing when we do vendor due diligence, and we would send the contracts to our attorneys to review for redline on our contracts. We would, at the same time, we would send the contract to our AI agent to review it. And then we would compare the results, the attorney's review and the AI agent's review. And what we found is more often than not, the AI was producing better results that were more conservative than what the attorney was producing. And the AI was doing it in 35, 40 seconds versus 3 weeks waiting for a law firm to return a red line contract, right? So after we started testing and testing and testing and testing, we still utilize the attorneys, but we are getting more and more comfortable as we move into the AI space in regards to the contract reviews. Now, one of the controls we have in place here is that we can't let AI make decisions for us. So there always has to be human in the loop, right? But at my level, what I can do is I can look at the red line version. I can say, I'm going to accept these, or I'm just going to say, I don't care what the attorney says, and we're going to sign it. So now that we've started using the AI agent for some of that, we can make some of those decisions much quicker in analyzing vendor contracts. That's a really good place to start, is you just Have your traditional path and then create your AI path and then start comparing. This is where you keep human in the loop constantly. You always want to see the results and validate the results. You never want to just take it on first run.
Were you taking the attorney reviewed contract and then uploading it to AI and pretty much saying, okay, well, this is how our attorney reviewed it. This is how we feel about these edits. Start looking for things like this.
What I would do is the same day I'd send it off to the attorney, I'd immediately go to AI and I'd prompt the AI. And again, using the CRIT framework, and this is very high level, you want to say, you are a well-known attorney, 20-something years in the industry. You have a Harvard and Yale degree. You are an expert in corporate law, specifically related to banking and credit union. You understand vendor contracts, the risks, yada, 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 right? You build out this whole prompt. Then you upload the contract, right? I want you to review this contract from a risk perspective, like any credit union or bank or financial institution would in terms of reviewing this vendor. You upload that, it's going to spit out a response. I'd then sit on the response and I'd wait 3 weeks for the attorney to respond. I'd then get the attorney response and I would compare them. I have multiple monitors. I compare them side by side. And a lot of times my AI was significantly more conservative, but also calling out things the attorney potentially missed. So then to your point, I would then take the contract with the red line and add it to the same chat thread, the same prompt, and say, these are the suggestions the attorney made. Please review them for accuracy. Do you agree with this? Should we make any changes? What are your overall suggestions? Again, this is very high level basic prompting, something much more detailed than that. And then it does a comparison and it would tell us, yes, I agree with this. I agree with this. I agree with this. I don't agree with this. Or it'll say, you don't need this. This doesn't matter. It's not relevant, whatever it might be. And then it can do a comparison. And then from there, we can make a decision on, do we follow the attorney's advice? Do we follow the AI's advice? Do we do a nice blend, or do we just go back the traditional way? And so that's how we've been doing it about cutting costs.
I guess Justin and I right now are really crawling when it comes to AI and our utilization. We pretty much do the same exact thing with papers that we get, and we throw them into AI for accuracy or for grammar. I mean, we have Chat, Copilot, Grammarly, Perplexity. I think you're looking into Claude also, right, Justin?
Yeah.
And we have Copilot. I think this is absolutely fascinating. And so you kind of walked us through that crawling, right? But what I really want to do is I want to get to that next step where we're running, and I guess that's walking, then running. Justin and I, and here's some inside baseball. We have all this data. Justin has it on all his marketing efforts. I have it on all of our events and registrations. So does Justin. But internally, I've been wanting to put together a event analytic tool that would help us with locations, budgets, projections. I mean, you name it, right? From our perspective, how do we take that next step, or how does someone take that next step where they are really looking into creating that tool, right? Is that too advanced? Is that more like you're sprinting and that's not a walk? That's not a run. That's a sprint. What is that for the AI person?
Well, I think it's about defining the problem and defining what you want to get out of it, right? I keep my AI very laser focused on whatever problem it is. So I may be running multiple different segments of a similar version of AI that has different prompts. Let's use your data on location. So you have, 1,000 members in a CUM. I don't know if that's accurate, but round numbers. And they're all over the country. But you want to create a heat map that determines where you have the highest concentration of members. So you can potentially determine where your next event is. And then you want to create something that's easy for these people to get to, but also is easy for everyone else to get to that has the highest concentration of population, right? You can utilize AI to help you determine what that ideal geographical location will be. Now, it might say it's a field in the middle of Kansas, and then you've got to figure out what the next major city is, or you can prompt it to say, what's the best city for people to go into utilizing this data? Do you want to talk about the best time of year to hold events based on location, this and that? Again, it's all about prompt engineering to get the data. And it's also based on what you feed it. So I tell my team this all the time, garbage in, garbage out. If you give it a bunch of incomplete data, you're not going to get complete data on the back end. But if you have complete documents with locations, what companies they work for, so it can start analyzing what conference schedules look like and what most people with certain titles might be attending, it can start pinpointing dates that don't necessarily conflict. theoretically, right? And it's about prompt engineering, feeding it the data, and then asking, what's the output you want? Do you want a spreadsheet? Do you want a heat map? Do you want a bar chart, pie chart, illustration? That's not too advanced at all. And then once you build out the prompting, you can pretty much keep utilizing that same agent by new chat threads. And so the best place to build those are going to be in the sandboxes or the playgrounds. And like in Copilot Studio as an example is a great place to start, since you guys, I assume Akuma operates off Microsoft. You have Copilot already within your Microsoft framework. You should have access to a Copilot Studio if you paid the money for it. You can build your own AI agents in there, and you can say, this is our AI agent related to member location, right? Density of member location. This is our AI agent for location planning and management, or whatever output or outcome you want to get. It's not too complicated at all.
All right, last question on this topic. If I created an agent, can I share it with my team?
It'll depend on the permissions you give on the back end. And as with all these things, everything costs money. So if your team has the licensing, then your team can access the agent. So I built a mortgage quality control agent that we run through all of the mortgages before they get to funding. Everything gets run through this agent. So we have a separate document in the E folder and Encompass. Everything for the QC. Anytime we upload a document, if the document's identified as something for the QC agent, it goes into a separate bucket. That bucket then integrates into a cloud drive. The cloud drive integrates to the agent. So we can pick all the data we want, upload it. It runs a QC analysis, tells us if we're good, if we're not good, what our risks are. And then we can go back in and fix it, or we just move the file forward. I built that in Copilot. It took less than a week to get that built and deployed. What it doesn't do is it doesn't give us decisions, again, because we have a mandate from the board that AI can't make decisions for us, but it gives us the output. We validate the output, and then we move the file forward. What it's done is it's cut our QC time down significantly. It could be a couple hours per loan down to 15, 20 minutes. AI takes 2 minutes to go through everything, and then the human verification is what takes the edit.
I actually love that, because like that was actually going to be like the next question I asked. I've really hammered you with Acumen could personally use it. And then obviously you told us about, at a bare minimum, have it review contracts, right, for speed. The next step would be basically that AI agent, right? Build out that agent to help streamline that QA process. Now, if that's the next step, right, and you're like, that's the next step, what would be considered an advanced thing that a credit union can really leverage for their success to kind of help them be successful?
I would say advanced is the whole idea is improving. In a credit union space, obviously, we're not for profit, right? But the more money we make, the more money we can give back to our membership, the more we can grow and everything else. So with that said, I would say the goal for us in lending is to reduce our costs to manufacture a loan. And that means to do more with less headcount is one of the bigger differentiators. So I would say, look at AI underwriting as an option, not to eliminate your underwriters, but to empower your underwriters to do more. So if an average underwriter does, 40, 50, 60, 70 loans a month, depending on your platform and systems, or 100 loans a month, you might be able to empower underwriters to double their productivity utilizing AI, because now AI can do all the work an underwriter can do in a fraction of the time. And now the underwriter just has to verify some things. Just like we'd randomly select certain loans to audit, the underwriter can do a sample size out of every analysis AI does. We're going to pick income and assets on this loan, and we're going to pick verifications. The next one, we're going to pick income again. You should always verify income. And then we're going to pick, liability assessment or whatever, or purchase contract review. So that's where I think they can see a relatively big lift to just, again, increase productivity.
I feel like we could have this conversation all day. I wish I really could continue on with this conversation, because it is absolutely fascinating. I mean this as genuinely as I possibly can. I've learned more in this little conversation that we've had, this 30-minute conversation that we've had of things that I can personally do and how I can do it and approach it, than I have attending AI sessions at conferences, multiple AI sessions at conferences. I think the moral of the story is that this is easier than what people think. It's just a matter of just doing it, right?
It's a matter of just getting involved in it and just getting your feet wet, and we haven't even, we're talking about pretty basic stuff, Peter. I mean, we haven't even gotten into how you can utilize AI to analyze data, to generate predictive analytic models, to determine relationship deepening opportunities based on information on a 1003 and cross-referencing it against current promotions and offers you have in your organization, or analyzing borrowers or members' purchase patterns based upon the transactions in their accounts going back X amount of years to predict what they're going to do. And again, that's using AI in a predictive analytics model. I mean, we're talking about low-hanging fruit here, but really, I mean, we generated a predictive analytics dashboard for home equity to predict what our application count will be and our runoff will be. And it's been accurate within $100,000 since we deployed it.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hate to do this because I would love to continue this conversation. We have to start transition to the second segment. But before we do, I have to ask you the second question I ask everybody. And that second question is relatively simple, just like the first one. What keeps you going? You're just like everyone else, right? You have good days and bad days, but something keeps you pushing forward. What is it?
100% my family. If I wasn't married with kids, I might be sitting on a beach drinking a margarita, working as a bartender.
Just a little. Hey, that's the dream, man. That's the dream.
Life motivate me, and of course, the ultimate desire to do something that leaves a lasting legacy. But what's the point of leaving a legacy without a family? So it's my kids and my wife. Quite frankly, aside from all the exciting, cool stuff there is to do, but it only matters if there's something to leave behind for it.
I love that. Well, Eric, thank you so much for sitting down with us and really just dipping your toes into how credit unions can and should be using AI, speaking from your experience. This almost stands to reason that we need to have you back to continue this conversation at some point. Before we even get to that point where we're bringing you back on, we have to transition to the second segment. And this second segment is where we do our dad jokes, the most fan requested segment of dad jokes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around the horn. You'll do your 2 dad jokes. Justin will do his 2 dad jokes. I'll do my 2 dad jokes. And then we'll wrap up. Now, I asked you to bring a third, and the third one was really just left just in case one of them bombs. We have the third one as a backup, almost like a redemption joke. But that's what we'll do. Easy enough. Eric, please, you go first.
All right. This one might not classify as a dad joke, but I think it does. I asked my mortgage lender for a joke. He said, "You'll appreciate it over the next 30 years."
Okay, that's good.
What kind of music do chiropractors like?
Pop?
Hip hop.
Hip hop. Good. All right, Justin, go.
When does red mean go and green mean stop?
When
you're eating a watermelon.
I snorted.
What happens when you throw a blue hat into the ocean?
It becomes my hat.
No, it gets wet.
It gets wet. Okay.
Thank you.
What's the opposite of artificial intelligence? Natural stupidity.
I'm going to use that.
Oh, yeah.
Why do birds sing every morning? They don't go to work.
I like that.
Well, Eric, thank you very much for spending time with us. Obviously, that wraps up dad jokes, but I think more importantly, truly enjoyed this conversation. We will have you back. We want to continue it, and I think there's most certainly a case for credit unions to just listen to everything that you just said, and of course, what you will say about AI. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Peter. It was a pleasure, and I do look forward to coming back, chatting some more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Justin, as always, thank you very much.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
And to close out, thank you again to Zactus for sponsoring today's episode. And to all of you, we know your time is valuable. Thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Acuma's On Point Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, be well, my friends.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time at the Acuma On Point podcast. If not already, be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. For more great episodes and information, visit us online at acuma.org. And to get the latest updates, head over to our LinkedIn page.
This podcast was edited by Resonate Recordings.